Doesn't it feel like over the years, every time a rapper gets locked up, everybody posts about it? I mean, to be fair, the old model of a rapper getting locked up, getting released, and dropping new music used to be a tried and true formula, right? But I feel like things are kind of changing, wouldn't you agree? That's why in this video, I'm gonna break down why that model used to work and why nowadays rap fans don't seem to be moved and enamored anymore by a rapper getting locked up. By the way, guys, my name is Uche and I make videos like this every single week, or at least I'm planning to. So if you want to see me grow, hit that like button. If you want to see me elevate and get to 1K subscribers, hit subscribe for your boy. Oh, I always forget, but not now. At least not on this video. Follow me on socials, man. UCHAYVA on Instagram and also Twitter to get updates from me and all the things that I typically rant about. All right, now let's get into this. Okay. Let me pause before we get into anything else and say that my motivation for making this video definitely has to do with Max B, aka Max Bigavel, aka the Silver Surfer, getting released from prison and going on a welcome home victory lap tour after serving 16 years in state prison. And so I want to say, yo, if you've been on social media, it's been inescapable to not see Max B out here hitting the clubs, hitting NFL games, linking up with the baddies that are near him. Bro, he's really living it up. And shout out to his homeboy French Montana for really holding him down, because you know that A-Rap money different. Max B gonna be living a great life.
What's good, baby? How you doing, bro? Yo, man, yo. I'm waiting on you, bro. How you, bro? We good, bro. I saw my boy. We good. Hey.
But beyond how much fun Max B is going to be having, I say, you know, man, the reception on the timeline is always really jubilant and really exuberant, and it's all smiles and fun when people get released from jail. But I'm like, man, when and if he drops music, will people give a damn? And so it's funny. You know, I will say this. I think back in the day it used to work, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But I do feel like fans historically have been impressed by street culture. This idea of a rapper keeping it real and keeping it solid has always, I think, impressed fans. But are the tides turning these days? Do you find yourself gravitating towards people who actually are former criminals and get out of jail and they're here to make music? That's a legitimate question for y'all to answer. But for me personally, I genuinely feel like fans are becoming desensitized to rappers who go to jail. All right, so again, this idea of a rapper going to jail is nothing new, but there are some key examples of rappers over the years within hip hop who have benefited significantly from being locked up. And I think there are some notable examples, and I'm gonna run down the list of few of them. Number one, we gotta start with Tupac. What list of any sort would it be if Tupac isn't mentioned in some degree? And so there was a time in 1995 where Tupac was actually locked up, and his album called Me Against the World debuted at #1 on the billboards, selling 240K first week album equivalent units while he was locked up, which was a huge deal for Tupac at the time. And so when we talk about Tupac living that outlaw life, he was really out here living a very righteous and ratchet lifestyle, which was reflective in the music. But of course, the prison idea and him being locked up actually fueled the music that followed from him. Next, we gotta talk about Lil Wayne, who was locked up in 2010 in Rikers Island. And before he went to jail, he actually sat with his team and they created a whole marketing campaign where he recorded a bunch of music, recorded a bunch of videos, and they planned it out where they just released a whole bunch of music while he was behind bars, up until the point where he ended up getting out in September 2010, and he actually sold 110,000 records in his first week when he dropped I Am Not a Human Being, which is crazy. So it's funny, man. We all remember Lil Wayne's prolific run, but I think jail did not have a impact on his music. If anything, it actually fueled the anticipation for Wayne's music. Also, let's talk about T.I. T.I. is one of them dudes that has a very slept on career, and I feel like you can't tell the story of T.I. without talking about how he dropped his Paper Trail album in 2008, which went #1 on the billboard, selling 568,000 copies, which is unbelievable. Y'all gotta put more respect on T.I. name. I don't see that enough. T.I. is a legend and a superstar. At least he was one for sure. But back then, he caught a case case for a bunch of guns and gun possession. It was a high profile case, and he dropped that album before going to jail, and he had to sit down for a little bit. But of course, after he got out, he dropped No Mercy in December 2010, which did well. Of course, there was songs like I'm Back, and he capitalized off the lore of being incarcerated. That was a thing for T.I. as well. Also, we gotta cover Gucci Mane. Come on now, Gucci Mane is like a must here. Gucci Mane went to jail and notoriously got out of jail and made his First Day Out track, which followed his album called Everybody's Looking, which debuted at #2 on the Billboard charts, selling 68K first week units. But of course, man, Gucci Mane came out looking different. I mean, people were saying he was a clone. People were saying, bro, we don't recognize this dude. And it was all because he got his life right. Fitness wise, mindset wise, he was looking different. He was acting different. I think jail played a major part in the anticipation that Gucci Mane ultimately experienced once he got out of jail. Let's also talk about Meek Mill. Meek Mill had a very, very cultural moment where he got locked up for violating his probation in a very notorious way. There was a lot of people who were behind that Free Meek Mill era and wave online. Celebrities got involved. NFL owners like Robert Kraft, Jay-Z was backing him. Michael Rubin, who at the time was part owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. And there was a big campaign to not only get Meek Mill out of jail for being unjustly incarcerated, but it also fueled a lot of the hype and anticipation, which ultimately led to his 2018 Championships project, which did debut at #1, selling 229,000 units first week. And lastly, part of my case study, we got to talk about Gunna Wanna. Gunna had and still is on his redemption arc and has had an amazing comeback after getting caught up in the YSL RICO trial, only for him to be labeled a rat.
Gunna Wanna, man. You can't be in the city doing all that ratting and shit. Rat ass nigga.
But continuously persevere through and release 3 albums, A Gift and a Curse, the last one, and also One of One, which saw a lot of success, right? Gunna he's linked up with a lot of Afrobeat artists, and he's created a name for himself, which was, in my opinion, mostly fueled with him going to prison, rather jail, and getting out and capitalizing off of that buzz. And so those are some key examples. But ultimately, y'all let me know in the comments, who did I miss? And also, who do you think capitalized the most from going to prison? Leave it in the comments. Okay, so all of that's fine and dandy. We get it. That's in the past. Some of them are more modern, but the reality is this. In the modern era, the chances of a rapper being successful after going to prison/jail is very unlikely, and it's for a variety of reasons. Number one, there is a content gap. You think about it. What's the lifespan of songs these days? A phenomenal album can drop, and within 1 to 2 weeks, people are not even talking about it. You combine that with the fact that there are thousands, if not millions of songs being uploaded to Spotify and other streaming platforms on a daily, monthly basis. You combine that with the fact that there is now a variety of content styles that are winning out here. I've made the argument in the past that streamers are more popping than rappers these days, and the reality is people seem to want to be more entertained via antics, pranks, impromptu, spontaneous streams versus listening to music at large. And so I think rappers who go to prison for an extended period of time, they're already at a disadvantage for that reason alone. Secondly, let's talk about the public fatigue and also the lack of mystique that exists anymore. We are living in a social media era where there are thousands of social media blogs, different platforms on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, who are all covering things on a 24/7 news cycle basis. I think that hurts a rapper's chance of being successful, like it kind of was the opposite in the past, right? Before social media, there was this veil of mystique that fans didn't actually have access to. And so because we're now getting images of Diddy from behind bars, we're now getting news and mugshots and all these different things handed to us while these artists are behind bars, it just removes the mystique, which again, I don't think really helps a rapper build buzz in any possible way. Also, let's talk about probably my biggest point in this regard. I ain't gonna hold you. I think fans have become smarter. Like, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Too many rappers back in the day were able to get away and kind of hide behind the mystique of being in prison, and labels and the teams of these rappers were able to build a strong foundation. And again, fans were still, I think, fascinated with this jail street life that they ate up every piece of content, every piece of news that a rapper was sort of involved in behind bars, but I think these days people are getting exposed for being snitches. It don't even hit the same, right? Like a rapper come out, oh snap, yeah, he came out, and now you got people like 1090 Jake, Whack 100, all these other people saying, yo man, what did they do to get out this early? Oh, they must have snitched.
The fact that I can show you, like, yeah, your favorite rapper that you thought was so gangster, the one that you want to be like, the whole rat.
Beyond just the snitching stuff, it's just the fascination of jail culture just doesn't create the same interest anymore. I think fans have just moved on beyond that, and they're just not easily impressed by that type of stuff anymore. And I'll be honest with you, man, why is it that we as a culture can't prop up more positive things? People like Lupe or Bun B teaching at universities, or rappers having families, like legitimate families and partners. That's always been weird to me, how back in the day, rappers used to have to hide the fact that they were married and had kids, and they had to portray this single lifestyle because, yeah, unfortunately that was a part of the music and that did sell. But I think nowadays people are realizing that fans want realness. Fans want beyond the music. What is the person really like? But people seem to care for the moment. A rapper will drop the first week. Somebody like a YFN Lucci just recently got released from prison. Somebody like Young Thug got released from prison and they dropped their first project. And yeah, it seems like people care for the first week, but then after that, you don't really hear nothing. It's kind of crickets in a way. And so I just feel like the model is broken, and I would argue it's for the best, because this glorification of prison culture to me has always been a very black eye, ugly sort of side of hip hop that I personally never really loved. And so these are just things that are working in the detriment for artists who are behind bars. And with that, we gotta run down a quick list of artists that to me have not capitalized on their jail stint, because when they got out, their career has looked a little funny in the light. And I gotta start with Young Thug, who was probably the more recent case. Got out, did not take advantage of the moment and the opportunities, released his UI Scooty project only for fans to be wondering, like, wait, so this is what you've been working on this whole time? Very anticlimactic, right? Also, think about 6ix9ine. 6ix9ine, who is the notorious rat within hip hop, and they were super tuned into his IG live that he dropped when he first came out. I think that really broke internet.
I broke the YouTube. I'm at 5 million views in 1 hour. Y'all can't even get 100,000 views.
Well, broke IG, I should say. But his album that he came out with called Tattletale, I'd say underperformed. It debuted at number 4. It sold 53K first week units. It didn't really do a whole lot. Also, let's talk about Bobby Shmurda. Bobby Shmurda notoriously did 6.5 years in prison. He was championed by the entire culture for being solid, holding down his mans, not telling on the guys, only for him to come out and not capitalize on any music, and his career has stalled. If not, it's gone the other way. He's now been, I'd argue, someone who we care more about as a personality than we do for music. I mean, I really challenge you guys. Like, what's the last Bobby Shmurda song that you've heard? And I'm talking about after he got released from prison. Don't worry, I'll wait. But what's crazy is I think we gotta also highlight some of the guys who haven't dropped any music yet. And I'm talking about none other than Shiesty, who got out of jail in October 2025, who did a few years in prison. And of course, people posted about his lengthy sentence and also when he was released. But I'm not sure if fans are gonna take to new Pooh Shiesty music in terms of comparing that to what he was before he went to prison. I don't know. The jury is still out on Pooh Shiesty, and also to close, the jury is still out on Max B. Max B did a lengthy sentence. I talked about that at the top of this video. And of course, I think he's paid his debt to society. He deserves to come home and be with his family and live a upstanding lifestyle as he sees fit. Totally his prerogative. But in terms of new music, is that something that people will care about? Because even when Max B was at his height of heights back in the day, when he was signed to Bird Gang and Jim Jones, he was always a regional artist. His music never really carried beyond the East Coast. I mean, he genuinely is a influential rapper because he was one of the earlier people who really adapted the singing versus rapping and infusing it both with the melody, hence why he's called the Wave God. And so it remains to be seen. Yo, does he even still have it? What does new Max B music even sound like? Should he collab with the new school like A Boogie and Tory Lanez? Well, behind bars, that would be a dope collab. But also some of these guys who've really adapted his swagger and style of music. Is that something that y'all even care about? Listen, the jury is still out, but one thing I will say, all in all, is that I can confidently say that prison does not guarantee record sales anymore. And I think that's just what it's gonna be from here on out. But what do you guys think? Do you think a rapper getting locked up no longer translates to record sales and overall streams? Or do you feel like that model still works in 2025 and moving forward? Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Once again, my name is Uche. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.